I just celebrated my 1 year anniversary from starting my college program. If you guys are wondering why I'm wearing this dorky Hawaiian shirt that's super wrinkled, it's because I was wearing this in my phone interview video that I posted back in February 2014. So I thought I would bring it out again. I actually posted a video a few days ago that I recorded a year ago before my program, and I just now got to uploading it. But basically, that video was about the application process. And it was very jumbled and unorganized, and I didn't know much about anything back then because I hadn't done my program yet. So I'm hoping that this video will be a little bit more informative and organized. And I'm going to be talking about basically everything from the time you get accepted until right up until your first week of work. So, mind you, it has been a year. I started my program August 11th, 2014, and it is now August 17th, 2015. So it's been literally a year. So I will try to remember everything. I might be a little fuzzy on some things, so just bear with me. And let's go. So right after my phone interview, I was just anticipating the news. I mean, I was literally checking my web portal every single day, nonstop, morning, night, really every time I would wake up and every time before I would go to sleep, I would check my portal. Because that's what they said, that's how they said that we would find out. But then when I found out, it ended up being an email, so I was doing all that checking for nothing. But I still suggest you check your portal just in case the email doesn't come through for whatever reason. But anyway, I found out maybe 2 to 3 weeks after my phone interview that I was accepted. After that, and like I said, it's really foggy because this was so long ago, there's stuff that you have to fill out online. Like I said in my previous video, my best friend was actually supposed to do the program with me, but she ended up not. So when she first said she wasn't going to go, I said I wasn't going to go. So it wasn't until maybe a month before that I decided that, you know what, I'm actually going to go through with it. So I had to scramble and get everything taken care of. And I don't remember specifically what I had to fill out. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm terrible. But it'll be pretty self-explanatory. It's not going to be anything that you're going to be like, what? I didn't know I was supposed to fill that out. They're going to email you or let you know in your web portal what you need to do. I know one of the first things I did was actually register for some classes at Disney. So yes, if you guys don't know, you can take classes through Disney. They have curricular classes I think math and communication and yada yada. I applied for or registered for a communication class, but they also have Disney classes. I know that there's a Disney Heritage class, which I really wanted to take, but it fills up so quickly. So if you want to take that class, make sure you do it immediately because it will fill up. Trust me, it will fill up. So yeah, I applied for the communication class and I got in. I also was taking classes with my university, so I didn't want to take too many Disney classes. And if you're taking classes through your university, I'm assuming they're going to be online unless you go to school in Florida. But you actually can apply to have one designated day each week that you'll have off. So because I was taking classes, I scheduled for my Mondays to be off every week, so no matter what my work schedule was, I always had Mondays off. And then my Disney classes were on Tuesdays, so I would always have Monday and Tuesdays off. I ended up dropping my class, only because you're going to be working at least 5 days a week when you get out there, and you're going to be working tons of hours. I'm not one of those people that can work a full work week and then go to classes on the days that I have off. When I'm off, I want to be off. And I knew I wasn't going to extend my program, so I really wanted to take advantage of the time that I was going to be out there. So when I was off, I wanted to play in the parks or explore around Orlando. So I never even went to one of my classes. I dropped it as soon as I could. The classes usually don't start until maybe a month after your program begins. And, oh, I forgot to mention this. You do have to pay for your classes, I believe. I don't know if you have to pay for every class. My class, I think, was about $30. So I'm not sure on the other classes. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I only know the one that I registered for. And also your classes will be business professional if you do decide to take them. So every single time you have class, you will have to be in full business attire. And if you're not, some of the instructors will tell you to go home. So, I don't know, that just sounded like a lot to me, and I don't know, I wasn't down for it. So I didn't take classes, but if you want to take classes, by all means, go ahead and take some classes. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the dorms, and I know this is a hot topic. So I know in years previous, how the housing would work out was you literally had to show up as early as possible on the day of check-in, and you'd have to be like standing with the people that you want to be roommates with in order to, live where you wanted to. They don't do it like that anymore, thank God. So here's a tip: you don't need to get there super early on check-in day. I got there like 2 hours early. I didn't need to. The only advantage to getting there super early would be that you get first pick of your room in your apartment, and then also you can just get unpacked and kind of settled before you have to go do anything else. So how the process works now is there is a portal, and it's called Dorms, and basically what they'll have you do, I think you had to fill out a questionnaire, or maybe that was my college. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, so foggy. But I do know that you can request your roommates through the portal, and then also you'll choose where you want to live. So basically they'll have every single possibility of where you can live. And when I say possibilities, I don't mean just Vista Way, Chatham Square, blah, blah, blah. I mean like Vista Way 2-bedroom, Vista Way 3-bedroom with 6 people, 3-bedroom with however many people, because you can do doubles or you can do triples, basically meaning you can have 3 to a room or you can have 2 to a room, and they all vary in prices. So they'll literally make you rank each and every one. It's not like you just choose like a first choice, second choice, and third choice. You have to literally rank every single possibility, which was kind of exhausting. If you don't want to live in a triple, I suggest you literally put that at the very bottom. Like if you absolutely don't want something, don't just say like, oh, I'm just going to do what my 4 top choices are, and then the rest I don't care about the order. Don't do that, because there are tons of people who do this program, and more than likely you're not going to get your first choice. So really put them in order. And like I said, they all vary in prices. So if you're the type of person where you want to spend the least amount possible, maybe triples is going to be your best option, and you're going to want to put those 2-bedroom, 2 to a room at the very bottom. I actually I put my first choice as Vista Way. I think Vista Way was probably my first, second, and third choice. I knew I wanted to live in Vista Way because it just, from the videos that I read and the people who I met on the Facebook group who had done the program before, Vista Way just seemed like the best place to live. It has the biggest bus stop, like every bus goes to Vista Way, so it's super convenient. Vista Way's learning center is super awesome. It's the biggest complex. It's the oldest, but it's like the party area, and I go to a commuter school, so I didn't really get that like traditional college experience. So that's why I wanted to live in Vista, because I wanted to do some partying, I'm not gonna lie. And then on top of that, I thought it was gonna be the cheapest, but it is not the cheapest anymore, guys. Like, I don't know where that came from, but I was paying, I think, $98 a month, or a week, sorry, $98 a week. And that's not the cheapest at all. I know some people that were living in Patterson that were paying less than me because they were living in a 4-bedroom. So it really depends on the rooms more than the complex. The complexes are all about the same price. It just depends on how many people are living in your apartment. So since we're on the topic, I'm going to just explain the complexes a little bit for the people that don't know. So there are 4 complexes that you can live in. There's Vista Way, there's the Commons, Chatham Square, and Patterson. Is it Patterson Court? I don't know. When you get there, literally people just call them by their first name. So Vista, Chatham, Patterson, Commons. Like, you don't say the rest. And that is in the order of oldest to newest. So if you like to party, go out, stay up late, definitely live in Vista. Or if you just like the convenience of the bus stop and the location, I think Vista is like the perfect location. It's right next to a Walgreens, a Chick-fil-A, a gas station, a Wendy's. It's right across the street from Applebee's. Super great location. And then the bus stop is just prime. And then there's just more stuff to do because it's a huge complex. Then there's the Commons. The Commons used to be where the internationals lived, but now everyone's mixed up. So the Commons has their own washer and dryer in the apartment, so that's really great to know. Oh, and by the way, Vista Way, each building has 3 washers and 3 dryers, but they're on the first floor. So if you lived on the 3rd floor like I did, it kind of sucks walking all the way down the stairs to do laundry. So that's one of the benefits of living in the Commons, is that it's literally right in your apartment. Then there's Chatham, and Chatham is pretty nice. I think that Vista and the Commons, they're like livable, but when you walk in, you might be kind of like, what is this? Whereas when you get to like Chatham is like, all right, I can do this. This is pretty nice. Chatham is pretty quiet. Pretty much all the complexes are pretty quiet except for Vista. I had a lot of coworkers that lived in Chatham. Chatham seems like a lot of people choose that one. I don't really have much to say about Chatham other than the apartments are pretty nice. The washer and dryer, I think, is like in a completely separate building, so it's not even in your apartment or in the like building like how it is in Vista. Like, you have to walk all the way to another building. So that's not really that convenient. Chatham and Patterson are actually like next door to each other, so they're super close. And if you live in Patterson, you actually have to walk to Chatham for the bus stop. Patterson is the newest, and it was super hyped when I was there. I didn't have a single friend I think I had a friend who lived in Patterson, but I never went in Patterson, not once. So I can't really tell you what the apartments look like on the inside or what the complex looked like. I just know that Patterson was probably the quietest complex because it was the newest, and all the people who, were not into partying and all that, they live in Patterson, and the apartments are pretty nice. I wouldn't want to live there because, 1, I like to party and I don't want to live in a quiet environment. And then on top of that, you have to walk to Chatham for the bus stop. I mean, and it's not a far walk, but it's Florida. It's going to rain every single day. So I wouldn't want that. So yeah, I'm always going to vouch for Vista because, I mean, to me it was home. All the other complexes, they're cool. But Vista, for sure, if I go back, Vista all the way. I'm just going to quickly talk about traveling there because obviously it's going to be different for everyone depending on what part of the country you live in. For me, it was probably the most difficult because I live literally all the way in California, so that's coast to coast, so I was very stressed trying to figure out how I was going to get there and everything. Fortunately for me, I have a lot of family in Florida, but they're nowhere near Orlando. The closest family member I have to Orlando is in Tallahassee, which is about 4 hours away, I think. So I actually flew to Tallahassee to my uncle's house, and I flew out there on August 8th because because I waited so late, tickets on August 11th were super expensive. And also, I didn't know how I was going to get to Checkin if I flew out on the day of because I didn't have anybody to pick me up from the airport. I didn't want to pay $60 for a cab. So I just thought the best option would be to fly to Tallahassee, stay at my uncle's for a few days, and then have him drive me there. So that's what I did. I stayed with my uncle. We left on the 11th at like 2 in the morning. and we ended up getting to Orlando at just about 6:45, maybe 7 in the morning, and I think my check-in was at 8:15. So we pulled in, and then check-in is at Vista Way. So we pulled into the check-in gate, and security was like, no, you guys can't come in here yet. It's not your time. And I was like, what? Like, because all the videos I watched were saying how early people would get there, but I guess that was back when you had to get there super early in order to get your spot. So there's like a parking lot right across from Vista Way, and we just like parked in there and like walked to Walgreens and chilled for a little bit. But going back to the traveling process, sorry, I got a little off track. If you're flying, I honestly would suggest that you fly in the night before, or maybe even 2 days before. I know it sounds like kind of crazy because it's like especially if you're coming alone, it might be kind of inconvenient to try to get a hotel room for 2 nights. But I mean, just this last time I went to Florida, I just came back from Florida in May, and my flight got canceled. Like, I mean, like completely canceled coming home. So I came home like the next day. And just knowing that like weather can kind of be trippy, especially in the South and everything, I wouldn't trust a plane to get me there the day of check-in, especially because it's so early in the morning. So I would definitely suggest flying in the day before. It would just make your life a lot easier, because if you miss check-in, you're kind of screwed. Okay, now going back into the check-in process. So we were waiting in the parking lot across the street, and I just remember seeing this like line that was kind of forming outside of Vista, and I was like, oh snap, like I need to go. I didn't want to be at the back of the line, so I got out and I grabbed all my stuff. And by the way, you will have like documents that you had to have printed out before you get to check-in. So you'll have like I think you'll have your dorms paperwork. There's some like stuff that you need to sign. If you need to bring like a void check and like direct deposit information so that you can get paid. And I can't remember what the other forms were, but like I said, it's self-explanatory. They'll tell you what you need to have, but you just need to make sure that you have those papers with you. And you also need your birth certificate, or you need your social security card. Please, please, please don't forget those things, because there were people who literally had to like go try and get another one, or a new like driver's license or something. I don't know. Some people forgot it and they couldn't like go to casting or something. I don't know. You need that stuff, so make sure that you have it. So anyway, I got in the line, and I was probably like 10th or 15th, 10 to 15th in line, and my uncle was with me. When we walked in, they informed us that like our loved ones couldn't be with us. This sounds like a sad, tragic movie, like your loved ones can't come any further. But yeah, they had like our family members wait in a designated area, and then we were led to the pavilion. Is that what it's called? I think it's called the pavilion. It's in the back of Vista, and that's where check-in happens. We waited in this line, and we go in, and they give us our assignments, I think. Like they give you this paper that tells you where you're going to be working, and they like check you off of a list. They're going to take your picture for your ID, and it's probably going to look awful. Everyone's usually does, or at least mine did. And that'll be your ID that you use for pretty much everything involving housing. So you'll have to use that to get into each housing complex, because there is security at the gate of each complex. And it'll say what housing complex you live in. So for instance, mine said, or it had a VW for Vista Way, and it has your program end date on it. And the reason why it has where you live is because you would think that you're able to like be in any complex you want to be at any time, but actually you're technically not allowed to. Curfew, or whatever you want to call it, is I think 2 a.m. for CPs. So basically, if I wanted to go to Chatham, I had to be out by 2 a.m, which is crazy, and nobody really followed those rules anyway. And also, I think after 2 a.m. you can't like go into another complex. Or it might be 1 a.m. It was 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. I can't remember because the rules were different for CPs and then just like regular people. So like regular citizens, they had to leave an hour before CPs from different complexes had to leave. So it was pretty frustrating, and trust me, there are ways around those rules. You'll figure it out. So anyway, after you get your ID, I think they give you your key to your apartment and like let you know where you're living. Thankfully for me, Checkin was a breeze because I lived in Vista, so I didn't have to like get all my stuff and then go to wherever I was supposed to be living. And actually, I lived right next to the pavilion. I lived in building 1911, woo woo, on the 3rd floor. And I could literally see the pavilion from my window. But yeah, so you get your key, find out where you're living. Then there's like inside the pavilion, and then you go outside of the pavilion. And outside of the pavilion is like, I don't want to call them workshops, but there were like different tables with different people at them, and they would talk to you about certain things. So I think one table talked about, and I think this is the only table I can remember, to be honest, they talked to us about like visible tattoos and stuff like that, and basically like the Disney look and everything. So they told me about how I need to cover my tattoos and blah blah blah. So yeah, and then you'll have to fill out like an I-9, and after that, I think you're done. You get like a care package type of thing, and it comes with like a first aid kit. It comes with like pamphlets and brochures for like healthcare and all that stuff that's in the area. And then you get your like schedule for the next few days. So you get this like paper that has where you're working, I think where you're living, and then it has what your schedule is for the next 3 days. So for some people, they had casting directly on the day of check-in. Thankfully for me, I had casting the next day. It would have been super inconvenient to have casting the day of, because then my uncle wouldn't have been able to help me put my stuff in my apartment because he had to drive all the way back to Tallahassee, and I couldn't like leave him with my key to my apartment. So it would have just been like really inconvenient to have to go straight to casting after check-in. And what casting is pretty much like, I don't know if you guys have ever had a job before, hopefully you have, but you know how like when you have to fill out all the like, well, not fill out anything, but that's like when you go for like the like legal stuff. So like for instance, right now I work for like a city job, so I had to get like fingerprints done and all that kind of stuff. So for Disney, you also have to do the same thing. So casting, you get your fingerprints ran. I'm trying to remember if I had to turn anything in. I don't think I did, but don't quote me on that. I think casting is where you need your 2 forms of ID. And then what else did we do in casting? We learned some stuff, I think. God, I really don't remember as much as I thought I would. Yeah, anyway, casting is just like a whole bunch of like official stuff. It doesn't take very long. I think I was there for maybe like an hour or 2. And then you get on a bus and head back to wherever you live. So your first like 3 days, after check-in, you're gonna have casting, you're going to have traditions, and then you're also going to have a drug test depending on what role you have. So I was attractions, so of course I had to get drug tested. I actually got drug tested the day of my check-in. It'll tell you when you have yours. And then also super convenient for me because drug testing was in building 20. I was in building 19, so it was like right there. And also the buildings have like almost no correlation to the next in Vista Way, and I have no idea why. You'll be next to like building 37, and then right next to it will be like building 18. It makes no sense whatsoever. I never figured out the sequence of numbers, so good luck with that. So right after I was done with my check-in process, immediately I moved all my stuff into my apartment. It was terrible because I lived on the 3rd floor and there's no elevator, so Had to walk up 3 flights of stairs with all of my belongings for the next 5 months. And I was the first one in my apartment, so I got to choose pretty much the fate of everyone else in the apartment because 2 of my roommates requested each other. So it was basically me and then another random girl that had to be together. So I determined the rooms pretty much. So I chose my room first and my bed and everything, and I was pretty much all unpacked by the time the first person got there. And I think the next person to get there was my actual roommate. My uncle ended up leaving shortly after I got everything unpacked. And then I think I did my drug test. And when I came back, that's when my roommate was there, I think. Once all my roommates got there and everything, we kind of, all talked and got to know each other a little bit. And then we went to like the Dollar Tree and Walmart because I flew into Florida, so I literally only brought 2 suitcases, like 2 full-size suitcases, a carry-on, and a personal item. So I had 2 suitcases, a duffel bag, and a backpack, and that literally had everything, all my clothes. I didn't bring anything, I didn't bring a comforter, pillows, or anything like that because I simply didn't have the room for it. So I bought everything once I got there. So we went to Walmart and I had like a haul. Like I spent probably like $500 getting to Florida on groceries and everything that I needed. So I bought a comforter set, I bought pillows, I bought toiletries, and did I already say groceries? I mean, everything. I bought a fan because, you will need one. You need a fan. I bought hangers, just everything that you will need. And it's better to do that with your roommates so that you can kind of like, be like, hey, I'll buy the cleaning supplies if you want to buy like the paper towels or stuff like that. So that was cool to go with my roommates because we were able to kind of divide everything. After I got everything, I went back to the apartment, unpacked everything, put everything away, just so I could feel better about it. The last thing you want to do is like wait, because you're not going to want to do that stuff throughout the next few days because they're going to be jam-packed with stuff to do. So I actually had a few friends that had already gotten there to the program. So I as soon as I was done unpacking, I hit them up and was like, hey, where are you guys? Blah, 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 let's hang out. I was super excited. I mean, oh my gosh, I was so excited. I thought I was going to be nervous my first day. I was so excited. I mean, it was crazy. So then the first night I went out and everything. The next day, my second day, I had casting, like I said. And then my day of casting, I think that was it. I had casting for a few hours and then the rest of my day was free. It kind of sucks because you can't go to the parks yet. You have to wait until after traditions to go to the parks. So I was dying inside because I was I want to go to the parks and I had nothing to do, but I just hung out. I made more friends and hung out with them. So the third day, was the third day traditions for me? I think I had traditions the third day, if I'm not mistaken. And traditions, if you guys don't know already, is amazing. It's basically a 4-hour long orientation, but it is the most magical orientation you will ever go to in your life. In your life. I'm not gonna be one of those people that spoils it for you. You can go look at any other YouTube video and they will tell you everything that happens in traditions and they will spoil it for you. I'm just gonna tell you that it's amazing. And you have to wear business professional attire to it, and that's all. I'm not going to tell you anything else because, honestly, it's amazing, and you should experience it completely open and not knowing what's going to happen. And I know it's probably going to be impossible because you're going to hear people talking, and you've probably already watched a million DCP videos, but please, 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 if you want this to be super magical, don't talk to people about it. Don't ask what's going to happen. Just go into it knowing that it's super magical. But I will tell you that you do get your blue ID, which is your work ID. And you get your blue ID at traditions, and from there you're able to go to the parks. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I think the next day, after traditions, so after your 3 days of like basically getting settled in. You'll have a couple days of freedom, I think. I think I had like maybe 2 or 3 days where I didn't have anything to do. And I used those days to go to the parks. I mean, they really want you to go, and that's why they give you like, I don't know if I had like a few days. I know I had at least one day, but maybe I'm like counting the like days that I had casting and traditions in those days, because like you go for just like a chunk of time and then you have the rest of your day off. But I know like the first week that I was there, I didn't train. I didn't train in my first week. So I did check-in, I did drug test, I did casting, I did traditions. I did all of that in that first week, and that's it. I didn't do anything work related. Oh, that's a lie. I'll tell you why in a second. But anyway, as soon as I got my blue ID, I went exploring in the parks, and it was amazing. The one thing I did forget, and I think this depends on which role you have, I think the only one that isn't included in this is foods, but I'm not completely sure. But because I was attractions, I had to go to Welcome to Operations, and I think most people have to go. So Welcome to Operations is kind of like another orientation, but it's more job specific. It's kind of telling you the rules of everything. They explain the 4 keys, which trust me, you'll learn about. They explain a lot of safety stuff. They're basically just telling you what to expect on the job and kind of explaining the general job description of being a Disney cast member. Not like specific to your location, but just being a Disney cast member. So that's what Welcome to Ops is. Oh my gosh, it's super early in the morning. Maybe it's not super early, it's probably like 8. And if you're a morning person, you're probably like, oh, that's nothing. But I actually think it might have been even earlier than that, because I feel like the bus got there at like 6:15 a.m. And so that's also business professional. So I had to get up super early, get ready, get on the bus. Got there, actually met one of my best friends at Welcome to Ops. Shout out to Jimmy. But anyway, it was so early. We were all so tired. I mean, we were all in Welcome to Ops, like literally dozing off, and the instructors were like, hey, wake up. It was awful. Like, traditions, amazing. Welcome to Ops, boring. So boring and repetitive. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. But anyway, after you make it through Welcome to Ops, then you're finally free. And I think then you'll have like a day off or something. But that's basically how the first week went as far as everything before you start training for your actual location. I hope that this video was a lot more informative than my last one and maybe just a smidgen more organized. If you guys have any questions, please, please, please ask. I try to reply to every single comment. And let me know if you have any suggestions for a video that you would like to see about the college program. I'm thinking that my next video might be just about my personal experience and everything that happened to me during the program. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please, please ask. And I hope you enjoyed this video.